Hello, welcome everyone to e-invoice, e-way bill, and GST reporting with SAP Document Reporting Compliance webinar. Disclaimer, I'll just leave it for a few seconds, subject to change the roadmap. How are we going to spend next 1 hour? So we'll see what SAP Document Reporting Compliance is, what's the roadmap for India with respect to e-invoice, e-way bill, and GST reporting. And then we'll go into the detailed demo of e-invoice and GST reporting, and also look into the how to get ready and the documentation part. So regulations, especially around e-invoice and statutory reporting, have been evolving across the globe. More and more countries are making legal mandates or making it mandatory for e-invoice and statutory reporting to be filed online. So as of today, 55 plus countries have introduced mandatory e-invoice and e-accounting as of 2024, and more countries are moving in that direction. So if you look from the past, so the statutory reporting was paper-based return, then it moved to customer being asked to file the taxpayers using online form, then filing, e-filing, electronic filing, then e-invoice was introduced, and then the e-verification and draft return. And if you look at India, how it evolved, so in 2017, the goods and service tax was introduced in India. With that tax reform, the government also introduced filing of the various returns, that is GSTR1, GSTR2, GSTR3B, 6, ITC04, so and so. So all this was introduced in 2017. And in 2018, government introduced e-way bill to track the goods movement. Yeah. And by 2020, the government also introduced e-invoice. So with all these three, what government is achieving is, once an e-invoice is created, the tax authorities are able to approve an invoice and then auto-populate your liability, that is GSTR1, and also the tax credit, that is GSTR2 IMS. And this was introduced in 2024. So India is among one of the first countries where the e-invoice, the statutory reporting are coming together and able to auto-populate your liability and the tax credits. So this is among the first countries, and we can see globally many countries are moving towards this. Now, SAP document reporting compliance solution, what do we offer? So we comply efficiently for both electronic invoice and statutory reporting worldwide. So when I say document reporting compliance, it's one solution for all of the legal compliance for indirect taxes. That's electronic invoice and statutory reporting. Yeah? And you can leverage one single cloud offering across business process and solution, whether it's Concur or whether it is SAP Business Network or S4, a private edition or public edition, for both electronic invoice and statutory reporting. What we also, the document reporting compliance does is we are automated. We have digitized the end-to-end process across countries. So for an end user or the business would see the filing of the return or creating of e-invoice is standardized. And we have also done a lot of automations, and where the customers also scale their business accordingly. Just to give an example, when I say automate, we would be able to, the document reporting compliance will be able to pull the invoice files or the auto-populated draft return in the background and show it to the business user or the tax officer what are the liabilities or the input tax credit to be paid. So this also ensures, minimizes the risk for the business, enables transparency. There is an audit trail left in the system, so that when there's an audit, the auditor can check what invoice was sent out, what was the response we got, I mean the payload. And most important is we have the error analysis and the reconciliation capabilities possible. So with this, we also ensure that whatever documents are there in our S4 or in the business system are also there in the tax authority system. So let's go deep into these topics further. Now, in the document reporting compliance, the first step starts with creation and submission of the invoice, whether it's outgoing or incoming. Yeah. And we have this error analysis capability where we could see if there are any online errors, we can monitor and handle them. Yeah. Then, if you look at India or some of the countries, I'll pick up the India because it's more relevant here, where the outgoing invoices for the GSTR1 purpose, you can submit on a continuous basis. Yeah. And also the tax authorities auto-populate this GSTR1. So we have this consistency check framework into the DRC itself, where we can check what are the auto-populated invoices in the GSTR1 based upon e-invoice. If there are any missing invoices, then the user can only save those invoices. So that's the capability of the consistency which we are performing here. And we can also compare the auto-populated GSTR1 or GSTR3B, compare with my business system and show these capabilities, show the difference in both these auto-populated returns. Yeah. And the user can also do the data analysis, review, and then digitally sign and file the return. It's also possible to look at the files which have been sent and received from the tax authorities for the audit purpose. So you can see that there is end-to-end compliance possible in the document reporting compliance as the tax authorities or the government are pushing towards from e-invoicing to integration with the periodic reporting. With SAP document and reporting compliance, we have enabled 500 plus reports and scenarios across 55 plus countries, and 162 reports and scenarios are in the future direction. You can learn more about these capabilities in the below link, which we'll share after this webinar. Now, the governments across globe are introducing a lot of legal changes and the e-invoicing and such reporting. So how do customer keep track of these things? So what we have is a regulatory change manager where customers can log into this regulatory change manager and see what are the upcoming deadlines and keep a track of it and implement these changes. So if you're able to see my screen, you can see in what's new, for example, invoice management system, which would be released, which is already available in public cloud. I mean, internally it is released, but for customers it would be available in 2508. Similarly, there's a euro conversion in Bulgaria. So you can see what are the upcoming regulatory changes which are applicable and what is the status of this regulatory change from SAP. I mean, when is the effective date and what would be the delivery date? Now, let's look at the SAP document reporting compliance roadmap and timelines for India. First, I want to please make a note that the GST reporting capabilities would be available in SAP Cloud ERP Private, that is the S4HANA Private Edition from release 2023 FPS 03. We would not be downporting to the lower releases. So a customer has to be there in the release 2023 FPS 03. E-invoice and e-way bill would be available on Cloud ERP Private from release 2022 onwards. We don't plan to downport to the lower releases. And the public cloud, it would be available as per the timelines you see on the screen for the public cloud, which is only called as S/4HANA Cloud now. Let's look at the what are the capabilities which are available. So you can see there's a red dotted line, which is today. So before that, uh, all the capabilities that is e-invoice and e-way bill is available in cloud ERP and private ERP. The reporting capabilities that is GSTR1, 2A, and 3B are available from March. Similarly, the legal mandate that is IMS, Invoice Management System, which was introduced in last year, in public cloud, it would be available in 2508. Internally, we are done with the dev close, so it should be available as soon as the 2508 is available to all of you customers. And for the private edition, that is ERP private, it would be available in another 2 weeks. So we are on plan for releasing it to our customer. The ITC04, which is the subcontracting process, would be available by August, and the GST6 would be available to customers by October for both the cloud ERP and cloud ERP private. And the one of the last report, which is an annual report, which is GSTR9, this would be available 2026, just before the due date of filing the GSTR9 for the financial year 2026. Yeah. So if you are already in one of these releases, the e-invoice, e-way bill, GST1, 2A, and 3B are available without IMS. You can go and check and share feedback with us. With the IMS, it would be available as I mentioned. Now, this is an important slide here where you can see the different components of the SAP document reporting solution. One automated compliance solution for worldwide for all countries. Yeah. So this is the first box, which is the S/4HANA Cloud. It can be public cloud or private edition, where you would have multiple country versions. India is one of them. And the blue box in the middle, SAP document reporting compliance, is the one which is being used even for India. This is the component we are being used. And what happens when a billing document is created, the payload gets billed as per the legal format, and any preparation and corrections are also done in the S4 stack. Similarly, for the GSTR reporting, whether it is GSTR1, 2A, 2B, IMS, the reports exist in the S4. The payload gets prepared by reading the invoices in the S4 business system, and then is pushed to the SAP document and reporting compliance cloud edition, which is marked with a light blue box in the SAP BTP box here. So the payload gets pushed to this document reporting compliance cloud edition, and then it is routed to the tax authorities via one of the GSPs, that is WAN and Xlon. To make a note, as of today, we are supporting WAN and Xlon out of the box. As a customer, you still need to have a commercial contract with one of these GSPs. But from an integration point of view, as a customer or implementation partner, you need not worry about deploying the iFlows or making the changes whenever there's a legal change. So SAP would take care of these changes. The reason being is it's offered as a service, unlike the current solution where customer need to have a CPI tenant and customer need to deploy this iFlow. So here we are offering as a service as a part of the document and reporting compliance cloud edition. Yeah. So this is how end-to-end the flow works. Just to summarize, the e-invoice, e-way bill, GSTR1 reports, the payload gets billed in the S4 system. There's the first box here. Once the payload is built, the necessary checks are done, is pushed to the document and reporting compliance cloud edition. And from there, it is pushed to the tax authority through one of the GSPs. And then you get back the response. Now, let's see the demo of each of these topics. Over to Faizan.
Thanks, Arun. So in this segment, document and reporting compliance handles end-to-end compliance for India. And basically, the demo is divided into four key parts, showcasing the different stages of the GST lifecycle. So we'll start from invoicing to reconciliation and then return filing, how all these get handled within SAP DRC. Before I jump into the live demo, this slide actually gives you an overview of what we will see in the next few steps. And as I mentioned, we are handling four key areas over here. The first one, the part one as a supplier, is the invoicing part, wherein starting with invoice creation, we will submit the same to the NIC and look at automatic reporting into GSTR1. The second part is the GSTR1 filing, wherein based on the consistency check or basically the reconciliation between the invoices already populated in GSTN and the books of accounts which are maintained in SAP S/4HANA, we would be submitting the Delta records and filing our GSTR1. The third part, which is from the persona of the recipient or the purchases, which is basically automatically matching the supplier invoices from GSTN. So this is really one of the key areas in terms of the GST compliance, wherein we will show the consistency check getting applied and matching of supplier invoices with the SAP S/4HANA books of accounts. And this would, of course, cover your GSTR 2A, 2B, and IMS. The fourth part, which again would be the from the persona of the both the supplier as well as the purchaser, that would be the compiling and filing of your monthly GSTR 3B return using the data which has already been validated via these consistency checks. So we start with the first part, which is the outward supply process, wherein a business generates invoices that need to be reported under GSTR1. Now, in SAP document and reporting compliance, the sales invoices are automatically picked up from the SAP S/4HANA. These are formatted as per NIC specifications, and the system submits these documents to the invoice portal via the GSP. The system captures the IRN, the QR code, the acknowledgement number, and updates these information back into SAP S/4HANA. And all these submitted invoices are also visible within the system, wherein you can monitor these invoices, identify any errors, make any corrections, and let's say trigger any resubmission also. Similarly, information about e-way bill is generated and captured in from the sales transaction. These invoices then, of course, get auto-populated from the IRP portal into the GSTN and in GSTR1. So now let's actually get into the system and see how this process will move in the system itself. So you can see in the SAP S/4HANA, the customer invoice will get posted. And once this invoice gets posted, all the information gets the information is transferred to the IRP, and from there the invoice gets generated, and all the invoice related information with respect to the invoice, like IRN number, acknowledgement number, and let's say the QR code, those also then get back updated into SAP S/4HANA. So now when you see, you have posted this invoice, and in real time, when you see the preview of this invoice, the invoice has already been generated, and you can see on the invoice itself, the invoice relevant information, the IRN number, the acknowledgement number, the acknowledgement date, and similarly the e-way bill related information, bill number, validity, transporter details, all those are getting captured and getting updated back into SAP S/4HANA in real time. So this is, of course, the transactional part. Then the other key component of this solution is also the monitoring of the e-invoice process. So you have the manage electronic documents, wherein this app, you can see what all documents have been submitted for e-invoice generation. Let's say for India, you can see the e-invoice and the India e-way bills. You can see there are 60 documents which have been submitted, and you can see the status against those documents also. These have been classified, whether there has been some error or some are in process or the process has been completed. And for these invoices from here itself, from this cockpit itself, you can actually drill down and see the details also. So let's say you want to see which all are the documents wherein some error has occurred. So I can go to the source document and I can either edit this and resubmit this, or I can actually verify what is the error which has happened over here. Similarly, you can also go to the documents wherein the e-invoice has been generated. So you can go drill down into, let's say, the document, the individual transaction, and you can see what all details have been, how the transaction has moved. The full audit trail is available. And you can also see the attachments which have gone out in terms of the XML files which have been sent to the IRP, and the response XML which has been received and updated back into SAP S/4HANA. So this is the first part wherein we have talked about the e-invoicing and the e-way bill generation from the SAP DRC solution. Now the moving on to the second part, which focuses on the let me bring up the presentation on that. So the second part, which is on the GSTR1, which is basically a statement of outward supplies, which is made during the month. And during this part, what we will cover is, what we will look at is the GSTR1. So GSTR1, of course, is compiled automatically based on the e-invoice data. So what the taxpayer needs to do is to identify the difference between the invoices which are already populated in GSTN based on the invoices, and the invoices which is created in his books of accounts in SAP S/4HANA. So in this case, the tax officer of the registered taxpayer, John, he can view the invoice level data. He can make any corrections if possible. And also he can, of course, finally submit the incremental invoice data into GSTR1 through document and reporting compliance. What this ensures is not only the timeliness, but more importantly, it ensures that you are completely and accurately reporting your outward tax liabilities. You are comparing your books of accounts and your data which is already populated automatically from based on your invoices, and you are correctly declaring your liability to the government. So now let's again get into the system and see how this process moves within SAP DRC. So go and start the demo. So you can see in the run statutory reports for a particular reporting entity, business place or GSTIN, and for a particular month, you need to perform a set of activities. So let's say I choose the month for which I need to file my GSTR1. And there are basically two activities. One is prepare, other one is reconcile and submit. So as part of the initial activity, which is the prepare and save GSTR1, you can go and you can see what are the invoices which are already automatically populated and what are the differential documents which need to be submitted. So you have different in this screen, you have different filter criteria. You can see by section, let's say B2B or exports or nil rated. You can see by document status, you can filter this data, and then the system will show you which all what all is the status of different documents, whether it is already automatically populated into to the GSTN, or let's say in these cases, these highlighted colored documents, the status is still to be saved because there is a mismatch between the data in GSTN and your books of accounts. That reconciliation has already been done by the system at the backend, and it is giving you this view. What you can also then do is you can go into the individual documents, verify the document details from here itself. So you can see the consistency, what all transactional details are there for that particular data at the granular level. Now, once the consistency has been done, what I can do is I can save these delta documents and I can submit this to the GSTN portal. So what I do for that is I make a new run to generate the JSON file, which I can then submit to the GSTN portal. There are two files which get generated. There is the detailed file and the summary details. So I make this run and the system will generate the JSON file with these details. So this will take a few seconds. You can see the report is in process. And yeah, let's refresh and see whether the process is completed. So still in process. Generated successfully. So the report is now generated successfully. The status has changed for the report, right? And that means the JSON file has been generated with the invoice details and the summary level details for GSTR1. And you can see at the top, the status in green as generated successfully. Now the two files are there, the JSONs. Now you can go into either of these JSONs. So let's say I go into the GSTR1 invoice detail, wherein I can see section wise all the documents which are getting populated. So you can see under different sections, B2B, since in this particular test data, what we have is only B2B invoices. You can see all these details over there. Now, this is the individual invoices which are forming part of this JSON file, and these are the delta transactions which will be submitted to the GSTN once I submit this onto the portal. Similarly, for GSTR1 summary tables, so like HSNYST summary details or B2C small, you can see for different sections what are the transactions which are getting populated over there. You can drill down into those details from here itself. And once this is done, you can actually save to GSTN, which will basically then submit these JSON files onto your GSTN. So I click on save to GSTN and I then say submit the selected report to the authorities. So basically now my Delta records have been sent to the GSTN. This is a continuous process. So GSTR1, you can submit the data multiple times as and when you identify some Delta records, or of course you can also do it in one go at the month end. This is now you can see the status is submitted to authority for these JSONs. And now what we can do is we can go back and see how what is the status for those individual transactions which were submitted via these JSONs. So yeah, you can see everywhere the status has now been updated as submission accepted by tax authorities. Now I go back and I see for those 4 transactions, let's see what is the status. And now the status which was to be saved, let's see now that the same data has been saved onto the GSTN as part of GSTR1. Let's scroll down and we should be able to see the updated status against those documents. So I refresh the data and I also in the filter criteria, I also I also select the document status as saved. And now when I will see for those documents wherein there was a delta transaction, so those have been now saved. The status has changed to saved from to be saved. So all in all, complete reconciliation, consistency check, and filing to GSTR1. Now the second part is actually you reconcile and file the final GSTR1. So you keep on submitting the delta transactions, and then finally at the month end, you file your final GSTR1. So before that, what you do is you pull in the data from the GSTN as well as you generate the GSTR1 from your source application, which is SAP S/4HANA. And what the system does is it runs a reconciliation and it shows you a comparison between what is the final GSTR1 information you have filed, you are going to file to the GSTR1 from your data versus what is already defaulted into the GSTN. So you can see section wise, it will give you a comparison what is there in your SAP S/4HANA and what is it you have submitted and updated in the GSTN. And once this comparison is done, you can actually the generated JSON you can digitally sign from within the system and submit it to the GSTIN, which will complete your GSTR1 filing process for the month. So yeah, you can see this is the month-end activity for GSTR1, which is completed. Now, moving on to the third part, which is the, I hope you can see, moving on to the third part, which is the input side, wherein we will talk about the purchase invoice reconciliation as a recipient of goods and material. So the tax officer in this case of the taxpayer, John, would receive supplier invoices not only physically but also from the GSTI through APIs based on GSTR2A, GSTR2B, and IMS. What the system does is it matches these automatically with S/4HANA's purchase documents using the electronic document consistency check within document and reporting compliance. These reconciliation process would check for the vendor match. It will match the invoice numbers. It will match the tax values and other parameters. And the mismatches would be flagged and they can be reviewed and corrective action can be taken by the tax team. So based on these, then you can decide whether you want to accept a transaction in your IMS or you want to reject or you want to keep it pending. And of course, generally, it's basically the reconciled invoices basis which you would consider as eligible for your input tax credit. Again, this is another automation which reduces risk and not only helps you to prevent ITC losses due to mismatches, but also at the same time ensures that you take only ITC for the eligible for the transactions for which you are eligible to take, so that there is no over reporting or either over reporting of the ITC. Again, let's now move on into the system and see how this process will move. So what we will look at is the purchase invoice reconciliation from GSTR 2A, 2B. how this is happening from within the system. And of course, now the invoice management system has also come into the picture. So reconciliation against IMS data also. So let's see. So there is the Resolve Electronic Document Inconsistencies app, wherein the data which has already been pulled from the GSTN keeps on getting consistently checked and getting classified whether there is a mismatch or a missing in tax authorities or missing in source. So if you look at, let's say, a missing in source tab, you will see all the documents which are there in the GSTN but maybe not available in my books of accounts. And let's say I want to see additional information. Let's say more importantly, what is the GSTR 2B tax period which is applicable for these transactions, so that I can take a call. I can pull in that additional information. I can view that additional information over here itself. Similarly, let's say I want to see what all are the transactions wherein there is a mismatch between the supplier supplied data onto the GSTN which I pulled from IMS 2A and what is there in my books of accounts. Again, I can check, and I can also drill down into the individual record and see what is the value which is inconsistent. So here in this case, I've drilled down into a particular invoice and I can see the rate which I have recorded in SAP and the rate which is on the tax portal are different for these transactions. So I get a clear view as to what is the basis on which the inconsistency has occurred, and I can then accordingly take a call. So I can either accept, I can decide to accept or keep pending some transactions or reject those transactions. Additionally, let's say what I can also do is I can export all this data, all the information which I'm receiving from, let's say, the IMS or the 2A which I have pulled into DRC. From here, I can export it into Excel because there could be some other parameters also based on which I could be deciding to either accept or reject ITC on a certain transaction. So I can export the data into Excel, and from there, then I can analyze that data further. Once I've done all these analysis, what I can also, as a taxpayer, would like to see what is the overall picture. So if I click on key figures over here, I can see what are the content mismatch, what is the eligible ITC to me, what is missing in source, what is missing in tax authorities. So this is how the reconciliation works. The consistency check works, wherein your data is getting reconciled between what is from GSTR2 GSTR2A IMS, GSTR2B perspective, what is the data which is uploaded against you on the GSTN portal, and what is the purchase transactions which you have recorded in your books of accounts. Moving on to the fourth part, which is the part 4, which is the GSTR 3B. So in this, we will see how SAP DRC helps to prepare and file the GSTR 3B. So here, John, who is the taxpayer or the tax accountant of the registered taxpayer, he will review the ITC and the GST tax liability summary, which is prepared in the document and reporting compliance. He can, of course, as we can see, he can accept or reject the claims, mark them as pending based on these inconsistency checks and supporting documents. He can set off his ITC versus his tax liability based on the system suggested set off. And once finalized, the GSTR 3B is prepared in the correct format by the system and filed via API integration with GSTN. Of course, this is filed and acknowledgement and payment reference numbers are maintained in your system. Again, this is again an end-to-end integration wherein you have minimal manual intervention. Moving on into the system itself, let's see the GSTR 3B process, how it is moving within SAP DRC. So The initial part is, of course, wherein your supplier is submitting his GSTR1s. He would be filing his information in terms of the customer invoices he has raised against you. So he will be filing his GSTR1. And then post generally the following month, by the 11th of this month, you will start preparing your GSTR 3B. So as part of that, what you will do is you will identify the business place or GSTN for which you need to prepare, and you will select the month for which you are preparing your GSTR 3B. Now, this will consist of a set of activities, starting with authentication of your GSTIN number or your GSTIN status. So you initiate, since you will be pushing and pulling data from the GSTN, so you authenticate. Once you before you start this process, you authenticate. You get access to the GSP via this authentication. This mobile, the number comes, the OTP comes onto your mobile of the register of the taxpayer, and then once he enter his GSTN gets authenticated on the uh, GSTN portal. So now he's able to proceed with the rest of the activities. And the first activity is to prepare the ITC. And as part of that ITC, what he will do is, of course, he will select the GSTIN and the business place and the time period he is looking at, and the system would show, the consistency check will show what are the mismatches, what are the matches missing in tax authorities. And you can see these 4 transactions are identified which have been pulled in from the IMS and 2B, and therein you need to take an action. So let's say I decide for 3 invoices to accept those invoices from the system, and 1 invoice I want to reject based on the consistency check. This is the action which I have taken, and now what I need to do is I need to save this action, and I need to send this information to the GSTN. So I start a new run wherein this IMS JSON will be generated for this IMS action on these transactions, and you can see these are the transactions for which the action taken is going to get updated. So you can see the current status and previous status, and you submit this JSON, and you can see the submission has been initiated. So basically, the action which you have taken on your invoices, it is getting updated in the IMS on the GSTN portal. Now, what we do next is to basically, okay, before we go, what we also see is we go back to the consistency check and we see the status for these particular transactions which we accepted and one which we rejected. So what I will do is I will go back and I can see now the status is 3B tax credit to be reported for these accepted invoice, and for one it is rejected. The next activity is, of course, submitting this information as part of 3B. So I do again a GST run. I create a run wherein the GSTR 3B relevant data is prepared in a form of a JSON file. And you can see, you can preview the information which is going to be sent to the GSTN for this GSTR 3B data submission for different sections. Let's say for table 3 or table 4 and so on. You can see the details over here before you submit this or save this to GSTIN. And once you are comfortable, you can save this to GSTIN. So this submission has been submitted, and basically you are now submitting the info records for your GSTR 3B filing. The next activity, once you have done all this, is to see what all is the ITC available to me and what is my total tax liability. So I pull the information from the GSTN for the different ledgers. I can see what is the ITC available, what is the amount lying in my cash ledger, and what is my total tax liability, right? Before I actually do the setup, what I will also need to mark is complete the GSTR3B submission. So I need to tell the system all the data for GSTR3B has been submitted. And once I do that, I come back and I now set off these ITC credit against my tax liability. So the system proposes this ITC utilization based on the rules of utilization of ITC. And of course, you have the option as a taxpayer to edit and manually change this utilization from different ITC heads. And of course, from the cash ledgers to set off against my tax liabilities. So you can manually also decide to override the system proposed utilization. Once the set off is done, you of course create another run, save this as a JSON file, and then update this set of information onto the GSTN portal. So you can see the preview of the information in terms of what is paid through credit, what is the net tax payable, and you can then submit this information to the GSTN portal. This is submission accepted by authorities. The last step is to finally file the GSTR3B. So you again make a final run wherein you, based on the setup which you have done and the data which you have already submitted for GSTR3B, you generate your GSTR3B file. You can see what are the final figures looking for different tables within GSTR3B. The JSON has been generated. You can see this generation, and you can then submit this onto the GSTN portal. So this submission has been initiated, and in a few matter of few seconds, it would get filed. So what you also do is you digitally need to sign the JSON before you submit. So this is the JSON which has been created. You can also, within the JSON also, in case you want to, you can open the JSON and see the different information, like let's say the tax period, the GSTN for which the JSON has been generated and for which you are going to file onto the GSTN. You can verify that, or you can check it in the JSON also. And yeah, once you have at least validated the key information, in case you want to, you can then digitally sign this JSON and do the final submission of your GSTR 3B. So this will then complete your GSTR 3B filing. Now, just to summarize what we have covered so far is the full compliance cycle. So from starting from the part one, which was invoicing, to the GSTR1 reporting, to reconciliation with from the consistency check app with 2A, 2B IMS, to finally GSTR 3B filing. Of course, what you see is that the solution is a real-time integration with the GSTN systems via the certified GSPs. So moving on, the next part is the documentation and how to get ready. So how do I get ready? There are certain steps or activities which you need to take to be ready to use or implement DRC for India. The first step is the step one is to monitor the innovations and keep your team aligned with the upcoming changes. So as what we earlier showed also, the Roadmap Explorer, you use the Roadmap Explorer to identify new changes which are coming in the solution. More importantly, for any legal change which are getting rolled out, watch out for the regulatory change manager to get information on these changes and what are the SAP's plan to deliver the same. And in case, of course, you have any issues, you can raise support incidents to SAP using these three components. So let's say for GSTR, you have CA, GTF, CSC, EDO, INDC for GSTR. Of course, no need to remember these. These slides will be shared, and yeah, you can use these. You can refer to these slides while raising the incident. The second step is to is to uh, is to implement the nodes, SAP nodes. So most DRC scenarios would require certain SAP nodes as prerequisites. You need to ensure that all the required nodes are implemented, and these nodes are mentioned in the overview table, which is nothing but it takes you to the SAP help, wherein you can see the support tasks for each country, and you can filter for that country and see the SAP nodes. So for India, you will be able to see the SAP nodes for invoice, e-way bill, GSTR 1, 2A, IMS, and 3B. The next step is, of course, to configure your scenarios end to end. So the SAP Help Portal has scenario-based help for both SAP S4 HANA Cloud and on-prem systems. And this help would include the configuration steps, the required fields, and the data flows. And generally, you would have both your functional and the technical consultants involved during this step in terms of deploying the solution. The final step or the fourth step is wherein you set up the integration layer. So if you are using, and we of course recommend you use the DRC Cloud Edition, you will onboard your tenant, configure the certificates, and connect to GSP endpoints. And in case you need to migrate to DRC Cloud Edition from BTP new environment, for there also the steps have been mentioned, and the link for this has been shared over here. So once this setup is complete, the system is ready to roll out, and it will automatically handle document submission, status tracking, and error management. A quick final recap why SAP. So let's recap based on what we have seen so far. And this is why SAP document and reporting compliance is a strong choice. So it is, of course, global and scalable. It's a single solution for compliance across, I think, 55 countries, and no need to use multiple tools or different applications. The documents are getting validated and exchanged instantly, as also we saw in the demo, and everything is embedded within your SAP processes. There is a worldwide coverage, so the SAP's roadmap, SAP's upcoming innovations, as well as a regulatory change manager, you can see we keep on updating, we keep on incorporating the changes which are happening from tax authorities across the global. So there is a global coverage for the compliance requirements of multiple countries. Then it's a secure and simplified onboarding. So built on SAP BTP, there is high security and easy onboarding, and overall lower cost of ownership. And finally, there is an end-to-end automation. So as we also would have seen throughout this session when we ran you through the demo. So from creation of the documents to the reconciliation to submission of the monthly return, everything is handled automatically with minimal manual intervention required. Learn more. So to go deeper, there are additional resources or assets available which you can follow for detailed understanding post this session also. And we have shared the links to these collaterals. So whether it is the SAP DRC product page for feature overviews, or the SAP community blogs for implementation tips, or let's say the replay sessions from the annual compliance summits, all these resources are shared, and yeah, these links have been made available over here. Uh, One last thing is, of course, the supported compliant task by country region. So this is something I also mentioned, and I think Arun also covered in the initial stages, wherein if you want to see for a particular specific country, what are the tasks which are getting covered in SAP document and reporting compliance, you can go to the SAP help, and there in supported tasks, compliant tasks by country region, you can filter for the country you are interested in, and the system will show you or list down the task or the processes which are getting covered. With this, I come to the end of the demo. We have a few minutes left, and therein we can take up some queries and questions from the audience. So please put in there is a Q&A tab, and you can put in your queries or clarifications you seek in those tab.
As possible in the Q&A.
Okay.
Yes.
So in case we don't have any further queries or clarifications open, I guess we are good to go. So thank you everyone for your time. And we hope you had a learning session, and of course we look forward to having more follow-up sessions with you. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.